My name is Tim Hoheisel. Welcome to the Stearns History Museum. I see a lot of new faces here that I haven't seen before. Some current members, some past members, and I would encourage you to, if you are not currently a member of the museum, to go ahead and sign up and become a member, because this is kind of a rare event for us. We don't normally do free receptions. We do them occasionally, but typically our receptions, if we do it with the galleries that are open, the cost is $7 per person. But with membership, everything we do here is free. Receptions, breakfast club, book club, all of our programs, family memberships. You can come in as many times as you want during the year. We also have a fantastic genealogical library and research center across the hall. Through that door, we have more than 500,000 images, 1,500 linear feet of material. We have researchers coming in from across the country, literally doing research here. So it's a very busy place. And so welcome to the museum. We are honored tonight to have two artists of the three in our show. This is a show that I asked Mary if she wanted to do. I've known Mary now since I moved here last summer, and when I found out she was an artist, I asked her to do a show, and we sell her work in our store. We have since the last couple of years. And so finding out that her dad was also an artist, I didn't know that right away, but I asked her if she would do a show, sort of a retrospective with her dad, herself, and then her niece, Mary, Samantha. So this show is Prototype, which is Don, the prototype, Handset Type, which is the type of print we're going to do, and then it's Just My Type, which is kind of our cheesy little way of adding on to making the title of the show rhyme. So we have a presentation by Sam and Mary, PowerPoint presentation. We'll give you the history of their work, and then also a demo. And since you managed to come out tonight in this beautiful, sunny Stearns County day, on your way home, you can take home one of the posters that they will talk about too. So, yay. Take it away, Mary and Sam. Thank you very much.
Okay, you dim in the lights, right?
Yes.
I'm doing it.
Sure.
Okay. So welcome. Thank you guys for all coming out here. We're going to take a more of an informal route. We've got a bunch of pictures and we've got a bunch of information kind of in our heads, and then my grandma's here and my mom and dad are here too, so we might be asking for questions from the audience just to make sure, confirm our dates and information. But we're going to get started kind of talking about my grandpa first.
Okay, so Don, he graduated from the Philadelphia College of Art and Design in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. And he was married to my mom, and they had a couple kids, and he got a job offer at the College of St. Benedict in the art department. So we all moved to St. Joe, and I believe we actually lived on campus while they built our house. I have really vague memories of this really funky plastic furniture that was like round, like a pill, and then there was like a little butt carved out of it. I mean, that was the 70s, you know, so. But anyways, he taught silkscreen, photography, drawing, design, and he was there for 6+ years. And, I mean, my dad loved to teach. I remember, you know, we had that basement, the unfinished basement. I remember roller skating, you know, with the, like, red pole, and I'd swing around the pole really fast. But he had, like, his studio in one place in the basement forever. And I remember he'd bring classes over to, you know, his studio at the time, and they were cool, and I just always liked being around them. I liked being around my dad teaching and all that art stuff, you know, at a young age. And he enjoyed St. Ben's. So then after St. Ben's, he worked at the liturgical press. He was the kind of guy that he could do everything. You know, obviously he was like this jack of all trades. He could change the oil in the car. He could fish, play catch. He could like bake like amazing things, and you know, we could play catch, whatever. He was like super good at everything. And I think that you know, I kind of just was always into following in his footsteps, you know. So that's a picture of him. Marianne, what's the story with that picture?
The teacher picture?
Did he win something?
High school, he was, yeah.
But he's a good-looking guy. Who's good? I mean, let's just look at that guy. Look at that. That's insane. I'm just saying. Okay, so what's next? Okay, so you know, this was probably like late 80s. Now he's teaching at St. Cloud State. He had gone from St. Ben's to the liturgical press to St. Cloud State, and he was his big thing at that time was silk screening. Like, he was the master. And these posters that he was doing for the theater department were mind-blowing. And they were, he was a photographer too, so a lot of times he would go to the rehearsals and take pictures of the people that were in the plays or whatever, and then that was kind of where he would start. But he was an unbelievable designer, and so therefore, like, his silk-screened posters were just amazing. But not unlike what I do, they were layer upon layer upon layer. Like that orange one, I think, was like 5 colors, and to do 5 color silkscreen posters, I mean, it's kind of a big deal. And you know, I remember helping him with that too. You know, cleaning out screens and hanging them from all these strings in the art rooms so they could dry in between every color. But so he was really making a name for himself as a designer in the area.
And I remember hearing a bunch of stories about people that would come in. Like, I obviously wasn't born yet, but I have these memories of people coming and talking about, oh, I remember that poster. It totally got stolen. Or everybody always talks about, because these posters, and there's 3 of them on display here, but the posters were actually like the same thing you would hang up. You know, it was advertising. And people would just take them before the show was over, and they would just steal them. And so a lot of people say, oh yeah, I saw that, and then it got taken down before I could steal it or something. So everybody's trying to one up on the taking the poster down too soon, but not quite soon enough. And there's a few of these posters here out in the front. So if you haven't had a chance to look at them yet, there's 3, I think, 3 of the posters from this collection on display in the front part of the gallery.
But there was probably like, I mean, I don't know how many we have, but there was at least like, I mean, maybe
15.
20-ish. There's a lot, and they're so different, and they're all really beautiful. So then, the next stage was my dad hung out with a lot of these cool printer guys like Mike Murphy and Jim McCoy, and these guys that had these letterpress print shops. Like this picture where my dad is, and there are not a lot of pictures of my dad in existence. So this is a lovely, you know, capturing of my dad, which you can barely tell it's him. But so this was Murphy's Landing. This place, I have a couple memories of going there too. But it was just full of letterpress machines, and they were always humming. I don't even know what they really who they printed for, but it was like a super exciting place to go visit. So that's my dad working on that Vandercook press, and so kind of during that time was when you know, all the new fandangled stuff was coming into play, and I think a lot of these guys, you know, this stuff became obsolete, and there was just absolutely no market for it. It was just being dumped, you know, put out to pasture, whatever. And my dad loved kind of working on machines that, like the old stuff, he just could work on that stuff forever, and he loved it. So he, throughout all the different guys he knew that were kind of emptying out their print shops, he acquired some really cool stuff. Like he got that Vandercook No. 4 proof press, which is my soulmate. And then he's got like a couple other big platen presses, and he really had everything. He had some really fantastic font families like Futura and Helvetica and Optima that he acquired all of that stuff. Like he knew what was cool and what was not. And that's just from being a good designer. So then the next step was what he did was basically built on to the garage of the house that we lived in. You know, I mean, we had a little one staller, and I don't even know if he really consulted with my mom, but I think he was just like, yo, we're doing some construction here. And so these ginormous presses and like hundreds of drawers of type were moved in, and that's what he was gonna just play with on the side. So a next kind of really cool connection that happened was there was some cool people that were at St. Cloud State, you know, at that time, and I was still in high school for some of it, but then I graduated and attended St. Cloud State. And Philippe, I have no idea how to pronounce his last name, but I think it's like Castiglioni. This cute little guy from Catalonia. Catalonia, right? Yeah, and he is he's a film guy, but he's also this amazing poet, and he's super talented. And I mean, I can only guess like what it's like to move from Catalonia to Stearns County. But I think it was probably a little rough on the guy. You know, he was a very delicate flower, and Stearns County was hard on him, you know. But my dad and him like totally hit it off because, you know, my dad was, you know, he could be this like, you know, a man's man, but he was also really refined, you know, like he knew. He was really into politics, he was really into music and poetry, and those two made like a super lifelong connection. And they decided to start working together. I think my dad was the kind of guy that would walk up to somebody like Philippe, you know, that long ago was super probably insecure of his work and just like, oh my God, I got this, you know, real legit job and blah, blah, blah. And my dad was like, I love your poetry, let's make a book. You know, so, and Philippe talks to me about it now. He's actually in Paris right now touring with his poetry. Like, that's how talented the guy is. And he talks about how, you know, and your dad, he just wanted to make a book with me. And I didn't understand why, you know. And you know, my dad knew, like, just like he knew about the letterpress and he knew about all this stuff, like he knew talent and he knew, like, diamonds in the rough. And so they did a lot of projects together, but this book, which is on display, is one of the big projects that they did together. And so it's Philippe's French poetry alongside of its English translation, and then there's silkscreen, there's letterpress, there's die cutting. I mean, the amount of work that went into these books is like insane. And it was this huge undertaking, and they finished them, and my dad, of course, like did all of it, like bound it and foil stamped the front, and then they got these little bags made. I mean, they're everything about them is outstanding, and I think they were a little ahead of their time, you know. I mean, book arts now, and I'm sure none of you guys know like a lot about it even still, but even then, I think people were like, well, why would I pay this much for a book? You know, I can get them at, you know, whatever for 10 cents. Like, I mean, obviously a lot of work into this. So they did sell some, and it saw some like notoriety, but I think it was just ahead of its time. I think a lot of my dad's stuff was like that. But Philippe wanted to be here, and he was going to give a whole spiel about my dad. In fact, he doesn't email, which is so frustrating. But I emailed someone in France who knows him and tried to like do this whole thing, and then I was like, forget it. But if he was here, he would have like gushed on and on about my dad and how that project was. So you got to take a look at the book, and there's still some left, and I wanna, you know, get them out in the hands of the people, because they do no good sitting in a box in the basement. But they're amazing.
And the book was published in 1993, and there are still unfinished pieces. Like, it was so time consuming to make a single copy of the book that we still have a lot of unfinished parts of the books in the basement, because they made like maybe 20 final finished copies of it, but there is enough parts to make more of the books, but with no market and no people interested in it, there was not the time to finish them all. So we have all these parts, and we were trying to figure out when the book was published, and we were thinking it was like in the 2000s or something, and then all of a sudden we realized 1993, and we're like, wow, that means he just sat on all of these book parts for like 10 years. Why would he do that? It's such an awesome book, and we just love it so much that we wish we could maybe ask questions now about like, why didn't you finish it, and how come there's so many unfinished parts?
Well, I think Philippe wants them now, because now he's got like connections, and I think he wants to. We should finish him and give them to him. Hey, he's gonna be in Paris, you know. Oh, that's me. And
you should deliver them personally.
yeah, I think I probably should.
Yeah.
Okay, so go to the next one. Okay, so as you may have caught on the very first slide, my dad's logo, Bruno design, was this rooster. And so after he passed away in 2003, very suddenly, I moved home from where I was at the time, which was Madison, Wisconsin, kind of doing everything and nothing. Because I'm like, well, I spent a lot of time in the print shop. I graduated with a printmaking degree from St. Cloud State, and you know, I was like gonna knock the dust of St. Joe off my heels and like go to bigger cities because I had it all figured out. But you know, really, I did have nothing figured out. But so obviously, after this huge tragedy in my life, I'm thinking, well, what's gonna happen with that print shop? You know, I mean, I don't want anything to happen to it. So it was kind of a no-brainer for me to move home and figure it out there. So one of the biggest things was coming up with a logo. And I knew that I wanted, you know, the base of my logo to be, you know, a lot about my dad. Obviously, everything about what I do now is because of him. So, so as you can see, I constructed a little chick who is the offspring of the rooster, and then the rest kind of makes sense. Yeah, no. It's good. It's a good story. It's a good logo. Oh, okay. Well, so let's just fast forward, or not? No, we're not fast forward.
We're not fast forward?
Okay, no, we're talking.
Okay.
Okay. So now I'm back and I got this logo and I'm like, hey, what should I do? And so, like, you were what?
Little, like.
Well, little.
I mean, maybe.
Well, you're a
12.
tweener.
Yeah.
Okay.
12 or 13.
So I was like, you know, what am I gonna do in this print shop? You know, of course I had a million different jobs. Like I was working, I was a bill collector, I don't know, I did everything.
A bartender.
But, yeah, I mean, yeah.
Still.
Yeah, that's true. True story. But so I was like, well, Sam, you know, you should come hang out with me there, because Sam was like mini me, and is still. And I mean that as a positive thing, so don't take it offensively. But you know, like she was into art stuff too, and she was always hanging out with Grandpa in the print shop and blah blah blah. So I was like, let's figure out what we can do in here. And it was really scary to be in there by myself, only because I felt like I wasn't supposed to touch anything, because every time I was in there prior, he was there. So I'm like, dude, I'm not sure if I should be, you know, touching this. And she's like, of course you should, turn it on. But so I think we started figuring out, okay, well, we'd be in there drinking pots and pots of coffee and laughing and being stupid, and we'd be like, well, we're hilarious, so we should make hilarious things. And so that's when the cards kind of started. So we started with just ridiculous, funny things and little images, all these kind of plates that we'd find, and we started making the cards. And the difference between our cards and, say, Hallmark was, well, there was a lot of differences, but, you know, namely was like cussing, because I cuss, and it turned out Sam cussed too, and I made her swear that it wasn't because of me. Like, I'd be like, just tell me you didn't learn it from me. She'd be like, no, man, I learned it in middle school, I think. And I was like, whew, you know, because your parents already kind of don't like me. So, all right, you know, but so we started with these cards, and the coolest part of it was like, I had a friend who was a buyer at Electric Fetus in St. Cloud, so she started, I don't know how she would have heard about it. Were we on Facebook at that time?
No.
I don't think that
No,
existed.
Facebook didn't even exist.
How did anybody do anything at that time? But, so this gal, Katie, she was a buyer at Electric Fetus, and she's like, man, these cards are sweet. These are hilarious. Like, we'll buy them. And I'm like, what? Really? So I think, obviously, then I'm like, well, this could actually be something. And so that's how it all started. And there was some really ugly designs in the beginning, for sure.
For a couple years. There were some rough spots. Paper choices.
But still, they said, like, F-U-C-K on them, and people were like, I gotta buy it. You know, they didn't even know why. They were just like, it's in a store, and it says a swear word on it. I mean, now, you can't swing a stick and not hit something with a swear word on it. But I'd like to think we played a role in that. So anyways, you know, we were starting stuff, and then we were getting involved with, like, Avon Area Arts, which was a local
Art crawl.
yeah, like art community thing. And so we were doing art fairs, and that was really when we were figuring out that people were just handing us money to take this stuff. And I love your cards and blah, blah, blah. And so the reinforcement was starting to happen, like this could actually be a business. And during that time I was still kind of doing some art stuff, some prints and you know, that kind of thing, because I was always doing that, and that was stuff that I did with my dad. But now it was more of a partnership with me and Sam, and we worked really well together, and we would like, you know, do these 14-hour long, like coffee fueled, like insane, like print forever, and it was good. You know, it was pretty good.
Most of the original cards, you might read them and think they're kind of funny or something, but when we made them, we were crying, we were laughing so hard. It was like no sleep, 5 pots of coffee, had a huge wad of Big League Chew in our mouth,
Big League Chew.
and we were just like laughing. We were like, this is going to be the next big thing. We're going to make so much money. And then nobody would buy the card, and we're like, next time it'll be the biggest thing. And I think that was what I learned that was really positive from like working at Bruno Press from being so little, was that we always were trying new things. We were always doing new stuff, and if a card wouldn't sell, we're like, well, maybe it's because people don't understand how awesome we are. Let's just try again. and
Let's try and educate them, you know.
There was a long time when it was a lot of making cards that we didn't even know if we were going to sell. We were just making cards because we thought we were hilarious. And it took maybe 4 or 5 years for people to catch on to actually how funny the cards were, and then they started thinking, oh, I could send this to this person, or I want to buy this card, but I don't know if I could send it to anybody.
Well, another really interesting thing that I would have to say that I look back, you know, 8 years ago now and laugh about is when we were at one of those celebration of the arts art things at whatever Angel Fire Ranch. I was making all this money, and it was awesome, and everyone was laughing. And then I heard later, the president of the Avon Area Arts, it was J.D. Jorgensen. He called me and he's like, you know, it's no big deal, and I don't want to upset you and whatever. And I know that what's going to follow is going to upset me, and I'm going to like worry about it for the next 20 years, whatever. But I'm like, what? And he's like, well, someone told us they were so offended by your cards that they picked up their family and left. So meanwhile, there was, you know, 1,000 people that loved it, but there was one person that saw an F word on a card and, you know, and took their family, and we're gonna let you know, and strong word, let it, and da da da. And I was like just crushed, totally crushed, and I'm just like, what do I need to do, and da da da. And I look at who I am now, and I'd be like, so go, you know, like that's awesome, that's huge. I mean, you know, 8 years ago I would be crying about it and worrying about it, and should I apologize and blah blah blah. And now I'm just like, if you don't like it, don't look at it, certainly don't buy it, and if you get it, you know, think about it. But whatever. So I mean, that was a huge thing for us too. It was like growing into us, you know, and like owning it and not and being done with like apologizing for it, because we all have different tastes, man, and that's awesome. But like this, what we got ain't changing. You know, it's probably gonna get worse, in fact. So anyways, all that was happening. We were getting better, and then some of the faculty at St. Ben's and St. John's and St. Cloud State starts hearing about what's going on, and they're bringing their classes over to my studio. And you know, you got to file in, like we got to clean hardcore before there's a class gonna show up at my tiny shop, and we got to like be really strategic about where everyone stands because it's small. But then I would do my little talk about like, you know, local gal making a living, which, I mean, I was, sort of. But then that started, a couple of the college kids would linger, and they'd be like, so can I like hang out here? And I'd be like, well, sure. What do you want to do? And they'd be like, well, I want to work for free. And I'd be like, that seems awesome, you know? So then I started getting these interns, which was brilliant. And then after like the first couple, like, you know, protos, we were like, let's go legit. Like, let's get, you know, teachers, and let's make this like an actual internship. So now, you know, 6 years later, they're lined up. I mean, every time of the year, even summer, you know, like, and now she went to school in Morris. She's sending, you know, her friends that graduated from Morris, you know, it doesn't even matter if they're local, but it's awesome. And I did struggle with some guilt about like having these, like this free labor, but I'm telling you, man, and the difference between my generation and this current generation is these kids don't have jobs. They're 20 years old and they've never worked in their life. I mean, I was delivering papers when I was 12. I worked at Kay's Kitchen, probably illegally, when I was 13. Anyways, like these kids, they have nothing. Like they have no experience, whatever. And so I'm giving them that, and I give them a ton of responsibility. I give them a huge portfolio. I give them raving references, and so the guilt kind of disperses a little bit. Plus, we have a blast. You know, I mean, they're cool kids. We've only had one, like, but, so then, to top everything off, I've been making these connections around the world, you know. So, the Facebook love and hate situation, but I have really connected with a lot of people, printers especially, and that printer community, and the way that I have like understood and respected like networking with people has really set me up for a lot of amazing things in my life. And so I'm not going to go on all the stories on how I met all these people, but Jyrta on the far end is from Sweden, and I got a grant last year as an established artist. What of that? And I got to go visit her in Sweden and print with her and teach a class and do Swedish things. It was amazing. And then on that trip, I also got to go to the south of France and print with Robert. And Robert is totally awesome. And I met him through Philippe, if we backtrack. We all know who Philippe is. So I'm telling you, with this network, it is just totally unstoppable. So, and then Amos, the humble Negro printer, is what he calls himself. He is from Alabama, but he's got a print shop in Detroit now. So Jyrta and I took a road trip to see his place in Detroit, which was totally amazing. And really, I mean, these guys in my world are like John Bon Jovi. Like, they're the big stuff, and they're my close personal friends. I'm just saying, it's pretty awesome. And they want me back. Like, they want me to come back. And I send them stuff all the time, and they like talk about me and like this crazy woman in the U.S. and it's pretty awesome. The other big thing that okay, so since we started these really ugly, poorly designed cards a long time ago, we've actually nailed it down hardcore, and now I've got over 200 different designs of cards that
Are good.
are really good. I mean, there's maybe 3 or 4 that sort of suck, but I have my cards all over in stores. Like, I've had reps in California and Seattle, Portland, and so like I send my cards out to stores all over the U.S. And part of that reason is because of this ginormous trade show that happens in New York called the New York Stationery Show, which, as you can imagine, anything that would occur in New York is like ungodly expensive. But it's New York, man. It's cool. So so this is Paul, and that was one of my interns, Catherine. And this was the second year we went. And the first year, I went with Nikki, intern number 1 extraordinaire in the back row. She's awesome. You'll see her. But so this whole thing with the stationery show is about finding wholesalers, finding people that are stores, they're reps, they're whatever. They're coming to look at my line and make orders. And so the reason my booth looks like this is because I learned the hard way, because I don't have a lot of money and I shouldn't spend it like I have it, because credit cards are only the illusion of money. But so that first year I was like totally brainwashed, like, you have to have this in order to be taken seriously and blah, blah, blah. And then I was like, you know what, that's a bunch of bull hockey. So that next year and this year, I mean, like my entire booth can fit in 2 check bags, which is, okay, it's 3 this year.
Yeah.
Okay. But the point is like we're totally doing it Bruno Press style. Like, we're not being talked into like the bling and the like lace and frill, which we're not about anyways. Like, gray burlap is totally Bruno Press. You know what I'm saying? So, and the booth looks amazing. And in fact, like this hanging system was my brother, back row, Brilliance, and his wife that constructed these metal hanging things that I just use magnets. Like, it's amazing. Anyways, this is our 3rd year this year, and we leave next Friday, and Sam's going with, and Paul, my booth guy. So we'll be there for a week, and the show is 4 days of complete insanity, but it's totally awesome. So the letterpress world is huge right now. It's all retro and it's all blown up, and Martha Stewart loves it, and so everybody's talking about it. But there's this certain look that's happening right now that's all the rage, and there's this debate that happens in the printing world, which is the kiss or the punch. And it's not about actually kissing or actually punching. It's like old schoolers like my dad, when he printed, the type kissed the paper. And now there's this whole rage about printing so hard that you're smashing so that you can feel it and you can see it from like 25 feet away, like, oh, look, it smashed the paper. And so now people equate the smash with letterpress. So I had people, Nikki, remember, that would come into my shop and into my booth, and they'd be like, oh, your cards are so beautiful, you should letterpress print them. And I'd be like, what? You know, and I'd be about to, like, you know, physically accost them, and they couldn't stop me. And she'd be like, just let him go, you know, because they thought, well, you didn't punch the crap out of your paper, so this is clearly not letterpress. And I'm like, oh my God. So then the next year we had type. Oh, hey, look, it's type. And those are pictures that my friend Nick Campbell, from the back, took to illustrate, yes, it's letterpress, people, come on. But it's not my job to educate people. However, I still feel like I should do it. But so that was interesting, but the upside of that was that my stuff didn't look like anybody's. I hadn't gone to the trade show for the last 10 years, so I didn't know what was trending. I didn't know like the colors and the topics and the whatever. So all these buyers that were coming around the corner going, whoa, what the hell is this? They were like, I have never seen anything like this. And I'm like, that's what I'm talking about. So that's kind of where we're at now, and it's still not like anybody else's, you know, I mean, you know, whatever, there's copycats. But so that's what we're gearing up for right now, and I think we're kind of ahead of the game.
We're excited.
6 days ahead of the game, right? All right. So then the next thing that's kind of cool that's been happening recently was working on broadsides for poets. And I started that with Rachel Mellis, very back, tiny child, she's very cute. And we were doing, we got to collaborate on some broadsides for St. Ben's. And a broadside is loosely like, means an image with text, right? So it's perfect for poets because it's kind of a home for the poem. I coined that. And so I got asked to work with this guy, Jeff Johnson, who's a teacher at Central Lakes College. He got a grant. He's got all these really big name poets, which if you don't know poets, then they're not a big name to you. But this is Billy Collins, and I had actually heard of him, which made me like even more like, holy crap, if I heard of him. But so I got to choose a poem, and this poem was called Cheerios, talking about how Cheerios had just turned 70 and how he was under the realization that he's now older than Cheerios. So it's funny, and this guy is hysterical, and it was amazing. So I got to meet him, and he signed my broadside, and he loved it. Whew, thank God. And so I get to do that a couple times, and that's the kind of stuff I really like to do. Where I have creative control, and where I can meet them and engage with them or whatever. Because I do some custom stuff, you know. I do wedding invitations and you know, some random printing, but I don't seek that out. Like people are always like, you should go to a wedding expo, and I'm like, only if you kill me first, you know. But so this kind of stuff is really cool, and that was a big deal, meeting him and getting to do that. So.
And David Sedaris.
Yeah, right. David Sedaris, good call. Yeah, that was a good one too. And now we're moving on to this one over here.
So I guess it's my turn now. I just graduated from the University of Minnesota Morris last spring with a degree in studio art and art history. I've been working in Mary's shop since I was really little, and I remember working, or maybe not working because I was probably too young, but I remember shadowing my grandpa for a long time too, following him around and what's this, what's that, can I touch this? Getting all full of ink and dirt and grime. And then when Mary started the shop, I just kind of gravitated towards hanging out there when I was in high school and when I was in middle school. And when I was in college, I went to school and I was like, I'm going to be a printer. And then we didn't have a print program. So I kind of veered away from that and I decided to be a sculptor instead. But the entire time I was studying sculpture, I ended up making really large books. So I kind of circled back to still having printer's ink and bookbinding in my blood. And my senior year of college, I really found that out the hard way as I was trying to make all of these big sculptures and cast bronze and build all of this stuff. And all of a sudden, I was just making really, really large books, and I was painting on books and making tiny little bound books and stuff like that. So it was a really interesting realization for me to all of a sudden find out all of this time I was like running away from trying to be a printer that I'm just a printer. That's just what I am. Probably when I think back on how I became a printer or something like that, I never really connected the dots until we put this show together and I started thinking about it. Like, my grandpa bought me my first sketchbooks, and I still have some of the drawings that we had worked on together. And this little book down here is actually a letterpress book, and I had written this story about an Easter bunny when I was little. I think the book was published in like 99, so I would have been like 8 years old or something like that. And I wrote this story about an Easter bunny, and then he had a class of students come in from Kennedy, I think, and they came in and all of the type was set, and these students printed this book. So I don't exactly remember it, but I remember seeing the final product of the book, and all of a sudden it came over to Grandma and Grandpa's house, and there was this story that I had written that somebody spent time setting all of this type, and he found a tiny little a little metal block that had a small person with a hat on it, and it said Little People Press. And I just thought that was the coolest thing ever, and that was really my first experience with letterpress, like actually being a part of me. And so we still have a couple copies of this book. It's a really funny story about an Easter bunny wanting to be not an Easter bunny. But then I found some other stuff I was digging through, trying to think about how I tied into this kind of printer history. And I found this copy of a Christmas card that I had done in 2000 for my family. And I had actually carved the linoleum block and printed it with him. And I remember vaguely, like kind of drawing a Christmas tree and then carving it. But when I found it, I looked at it and I was like, that's a letterpress printed card that I made when I was 10. And I don't think a lot of kids have that opportunity to make such awesome art with their grandparents. And I definitely am very blessed to have had the opportunity to work with Mary and to work with my grandpa and to make all of these different projects and to just be really encouraged. And so there's just one more picture I wanted to show here. So you can see this is a picture of me when I was really little and my grandpa. And I just remember him reading me all of these stories. He would go to these weird bookstores and find the strangest books. Like, we collected Uncle Wiggily, and we had all of these pop-up books and these different stories that were really colorful, and he would always read them to me, and then we would just fall asleep reading these books, these goofy, silly stories and books. And I didn't think about it until like growing up, but when I look back on it, all of the books that I'm making are just these goofy pop-up books. And I was like, where do I get these ideas from? And then I think back and I look at the pop-up book of phobias, or all of these different books that he would collect and bring to me and share with me and my sisters. And it's just so awesome to see it. I started making books when I was really small, and then I kind of forgot about it until I was in college. But I found another one of these things where I find it, and I found this book that I had made. It says Grandpa's Scrape Book. And I don't know when it was from, but it's this tiny book that's bound backwards because I probably didn't know what I was doing. But I had worked on it with him, and it was all of these little drawings of my mom and my dad and my sister. And I just think it's so cool to have that opportunity, since I didn't really get to know him while I'm growing up as an artist, to have those memories that I can kind of find, those little treasures that I can find when I look back from when I was really small. So that's kind of what inspired me to be an artist, I think. And then last summer, I had just graduated and I wanted to do something completely different than I had done before. And I worked with a student that I had just graduated with, and his name was Josh Preston, and we set type for 9 hours. Both of us were hand setting type at the same time for 9 hours, and we printed this zine, which is a collection of 6 poems. And it was absolutely insane. We printed it on Mary's Vandercook, and I remember calling her, asking her, hey, I have this idea of a book that I'm going to print. She's like, you're going to do what? And I told her, we're just going to print one big page, and we'll fold it down into be a tiny little book. She's like, okay, I guess. And this is as she's getting ready to go to the stationery show and to New York, or to Sweden. So she's like, I don't really have time to help out a whole lot. Like, I'll try to help out a lot, but I don't know. I'm really nervous. And she just kept saying, like, I'm nervous. I don't know if you can break the presses, and I'm super nervous. And I was like, no, it'll be fine. We're just gonna set type and we're gonna print it. And you can see all of the times that I did things wrong on the little fan out of things. We printed for 3 days straight. Basically, I had just graduated college, so I was obviously really used to not sleeping and just living off of coffee and energy drinks. And we had a deadline, which was 4 days. And the ink had to be dry and they had to be folded. So we just sat down and we really got to work, and we set all of this type, and we printed and printed and printed. And Mary's like, yeah, how many are you going to make? And Josh came in, he's like, how about we make like 500? And we got him to rein it in from 500, but I still think we printed like 200 copies of it. It was insane, and all of it is the hand motion of the Vandercook. So our arms were definitely sore. It was quite an experience. And then we came back after we had printed the original front, and we had this unpublished Robert Bly poem that he had given to us to print in this zine. And so we had to go back and set it. So after 3 days of really intensive printing, we went back and we found time and energy to print again. And so we set more poems and more type. And it was just a really awesome process to kind of have my own time in the shop to make my own stuff. Well, it was really cool. And the zine is in the press box out in the main gallery if you check it out.
Okay, so one of the reasons, like doing these art shows, and we've really like level jumped on art shows because it started, with like, I mean, we know how to pick them a little better, but an art show is always a crapshoot. But this one we did, this Made in Minnesota, it's at the Graves Hotel in downtown Minneapolis. So of course you have to pay an arm and a leg to get into it. But I had these gals that were like, "Oh, Mary, you have to be there. This stuff is so wonderful," whatever. And and I will not do a show anymore if Sam won't be there. And I pay her well. She's not a slave anymore. She gets paid. But it was a very cool deal. So we had to go down and stay overnight in the Graves, which didn't suck, but it was expensive. And then because we got a little TV spot on channel, was it 5 or 9? Whatever, with M.A. Roscoe, and which meant we had to get up and be ready to be on TV, live TV, which I'm already a wreck just talking in front of 32 people, and like live TV, I just kept having like heart palpitations because I thought I would get Tourette's or something, but I didn't. I don't think I swore at all, but so that was us right after we were on freaking live TV, which was totally awesome, and all these people on Vegas like, oh my god, we just saw you on TV. So that was pretty cool, and that was a very lucrative sale. However, it was in the nighttime. It was all these women drinking, like there was cocktails and stuff, so they're all just getting loaded and just buying stuff, which was awesome. But then we didn't get out of there. I mean, it was the longest day ever to humankind, and so we really paid for our success. But I don't know, I mean, it was good, but these little TV bits are pretty cool. So we got that, and then there was the On the Road with Jason Davis. That was pretty sweet. I don't know if anybody saw that. Still running reruns. After every time they run one, I'll get at least one random drive up to the shop, and usually it's like someone a little older, perhaps not on Facebook, and it's like this older couple that will just show up, and they'll be like, oh my gosh, we saw you, and then it's the husband going like, I did that all my life, I couldn't hardly believe this, some young whippersnapper still doing it. So every time they see it, they at least show up, and they're like, whoa, totally impressed. So anyways, like we've gotten some press and that kind of thing is obviously huge and validating and blah blah blah.
Okay.
Oh, okay, so let me set it up, right?
Yep, you set it up. I'm gonna get it.
So then like these local graphic places in town, this was oh crap, I'm gonna forget the name. Gaslight?
Gaslight.
Yeah.
Gas lamp.
Gaslight Creative, so that's a graphic design place in town, and they started hearing about me, and so they were like, you know, Bruno, there's this guy coming to town, Aaron Draplin, and it was super ironic because I had totally heard of him, and he was actually totally one of my design heroes, mostly because he's hilarious and he swears a lot, but also because he's an extremely talented designer. So I was like, he's coming to St. Cloud, you know? And they're like, yes, he's coming to St. Cloud, and you get to design the postcard for his talk. And I'm like, that is ridiculous and fantastic. So I designed a really super cool postcard, and then I like to take a little shot at the GoPro, and we made like a silly little video of it. But it's pretty sweet. And I got to meet him, and I got to hang out with him, and, you know, we're sort of friends.
And now we have demos too.
Oh yeah,
Let's
let's print it.
We set up and we brought something so everybody can try their hand at being.
So I printed
printers.
like all of these just color blocks, and then in this press is all this type, which you will all come and see, and you will all like take a little hand at it. So we're gonna throw it down. I'm just gonna put something on because I got nice clothes on, and Marianne will not allow me to print without an apron on. Right, Sam?
Yep.
Okay, so we got all this stuff locked up in this little portable. This is a portable Vandercook. Obviously, none of my real big dogs could just be hoisted in here. But this guy, with a little bit of CrossFit action, can be placed in here. Oh, the tiniest one ever. So why don't you guys just like come on over, look at stuff. We'll print some. You can each have one. They're gonna be wet, so don't rub it along your clothes or face. Or this wood type that I got here. This is wood type and lead. The little stuff is lead, and then this is a linoleum block that I carved. You should get over it. Like way well, it's got to be type high, which is like 0.918 or something. But the way I get it perfectly is I get this MDF board from Home Depot, and then I use 3 sheets of chipboard, and then it's perfect.
Perfect, 3 sheets.
Yeah, right. All right, you do the printing part.
I'm doing the printing part?
Yeah, because you got clean hands. Okay. No, not that one. Look at the success!
Just make sure you let it dry. If anybody wants to pull their own, it's really easy.
Yeah, y'all can do it. Y'all
We
print
did
it.
the hard work for you. Set all the type.
You go.
Locked it all up.
Is everything spelt right? Marianne? Yeah, I know, but
I
that's
did
usually
one
what I do.
once that was backward.
Yeah, that's
I didn't need to have it backward.
What do you
The first card I printed said "Happy Birthday."
happy birthday.
What is she, how does she know where to line that up? What do you
What do you got there, Sam? You got a little tape figured out?
Yeah, we have blue tape for that top edge, and
Like
then
this is a proofing press. This isn't, you know, I mean you're just proofing stuff.
so I
it's
just
not
line it up
but
along the edge, and then up to the top of the blue.
whoa, I didn't get.
Oh,
Do you have to ink it all every time?
Yeah, because
Yeah.
this is a lot of
A lot of surface area.
Yeah. How'd that last one look? Pretty good.
Yeah.
Oh, she's a beauty.
Good.
Does it print on the way forward and back, or just in
I
one
think it
direction?
does.
Yeah, it's just about the pressure.
Is it hard on the way back? Yeah.
So you don't worry about the paper slipping and getting a double
No,
print?
it
when you
gets
go
pretty
back?
stuck. Well, sometimes it
You should
gets.
move it up.
Should we
That
put,
one was my
should we put
fault.
some of these on the back table where they can?
Yeah.
So that whole.
Look, I got interns already.
That one I did upside down.
My question.
The studio is absolutely open to the public. You can always show up. You can email or whatever, Facebook, and just come over and check it out. I mean, we're pretty relaxed, obviously.
Yes, on the steps.
That's perfect. All right, who wants to give it a roll? Come on down, come on
Set a
down.
little lower. Oh, I see.
I overcompensated. I'm lining it up at the top of it.
Now I see.
I can't see one.
Sure.
Nice.
You look at the distance there and you look at
Oh, I see, yeah, okay.
it's where the paper laid
more on the
down.
bottom.
It's centered supposedly, where that one is not.
Oh, no, we just used red because we thought it was.
Yeah, it's centered this way, but not so much. Yes.
Yep, this was on the Vandercook, the press you saw in the video, and it's called a rainbow roll or a split fountain. I had red, then I had yellow, then I had
Set it
warm
down.
red, and it kind of blends.
And then pull from there. Just pull it back. Pull it towards you. Yep.
Both hands. You're gonna need muscle, yo.
Just pull it straight
You got it.
and then push it back. And then you want to pull it straight up. Good job.
Just my tip.
Beautiful.
Thank you.
Sam, you should snap some pictures, yo. Grab my phone.
Put it to work.
Well, we better make room for some more.
Is that wood type, I assume, comes out of really hard wood?
Yeah,
I
what
mean,
is it?
they'll
End
last-
grain maple. Like that's Hamilton wood type. We've been there a couple times. That's a place in northern Wisconsin where they carve the wood type, and it's like this now I can't remember what the machine's called, but it's like a router kind of that cuts all the type. All right, Sam, you come back. I'm sorry. You're better. I'll be snapping pictures.
Okay. We just had to make sure that when we roll the ink, we have a big spot to make sure that the ink is all nice and even. Because if you have any pock marks in the ink, then it gets gross marks on the print. So there's a lot of room for error when you're printing it. You can tag the Stearns History Museum and Bruno Press in any of your social media posts if you want.
I don't think this is social media.
Maybe.
I'm so politically adverse, I don't even want to go That went an hour?
Yes. I don't think we started. Okay, just don't be afraid of it. Just pull it.
Yeah, look at this one.
That's pretty cool.
Hey, she pulled that up.
Good job.
that's a
Very
nice
nice.
Thank you, buddy.
And these are letterpress printed baby onesies. So we have the type and we put it in just like this, and we put the t-shirts or the fabric on cardboard, and then we print over the top of it. Good job, buddy. Thank you. Good job, intern. Intern for life. Good job. Okay, so then
Did it work?
Does it work? Just don't put it on your clothes or your mom will never let you come back.
Oh, were you getting that?
Yep, I'm just gonna put your paper on for you.
I use those rollers for spray glue too.
Oh, really?
Yeah, to make it.
That makes sense.
Okay.
Oh.
Hang on. Let's start back here again. Ready? Start up here again. Right, here we go.
Sometimes it gets caught weird.
Now back. Good job.
You have to do it pretty good, fast.
Yeah, you do. You slow down.
You can't be afraid
Oh,
of it.
that's a good one.
There you go.
Nice job.
I gotta try.
With that magnet. Yeah? Yeah? Bye, Stinker. Bye, little Stinker.
She's like, I'm so tired, Mom, bring me home.
She loved it. Are you in line? Yeah, right? Bye, buddy.
Am I on the wrong side?
I'm not in line on this, baby.
You're fine. You can go next.
I think I'll put it on my jaw.
Okay.
Excuse me. Hi, how are you?
Not centered. Okay, can you reach? All right, here we go. You got it.
Just like I knew what I was doing.
Pretty much.
You guys do any sightseeing when you're in New York?
Yeah, Sam wants to go to where?
The MoMA.
Yeah. He was there last year. Yeah. Nice job. Professional. Fantastic.
Mary, where is your
Let's see it. Oh, nice. Spell check it. Let's see. Mary's not known for spelling.
She's not.
If she makes a mistake, she makes 250 of them. She's consistent. Oh, that's great. That's great. That's awesome. I love how it's kind of faded down the middle. Is that rainbow roll that they were talking about a little bit?